Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the IDRiM podcast. Today, I'm joined by a delegation of speakers from the Philippines who are going to talk about their research on, the title, Bridging the Gap, Strengthening Student Disaster Resilience Towards Sustainable Policy and Practice. So, first of all, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Okay, so by the way, I'm Dr. Jomar. I'm actually the professor of Ma'am Kimberly, Casanillo, Ma'am Geezel, the Torres, and the other co-authors of this study. And probably I can tell you later on how we came about this specific topic. But yeah, so I'm a professor from the Don Mariano Marcos Memorial State University. It is a state university in the northern Philippines. Nice to meet you, Sir Ashley, and I'm glad to be here. It's actually our first time to be invited in a podcast regarding our research publication, so we are glad to be here.
Yes, sir. And I am Miss Kimberly Casanillo from Philippines. And I'm so much blessed and honored to be part of this podcast interview. As said by Sir Jomar, this is our first time actually. And Sir Jomar is our professor. He pushed us to do this, and we are so much thankful for this kind of opportunity, as well as with your team publication, sir. We are so much honored to be part of it. So again, I'm Miss Kimberly and Casanillo, a student from Don Mariano Marcos Memorial State University.
Hello, sir. I am Geezel Rosvie de Torres. As mentioned by Sir Aban, we are his student from Don Mariano Marcos Memorial State University, and we are happy and honored that we have this platform wherein we can share the story behind our study, and which is a collaborative one, and we are also lucky to have Sir Aban as our advisor because he pushed us to have this published, and we are very happy that we have this platform. Thank you so much, Sir Ashley.
I just wanna
Yes,
say that our director for disaster risk reduction and our co-author as well is Dr. Professor Randulph Navasca.
And thank you for joining us on the iDream podcast. I mean, one of the reasons we did this was to bring more attention to research that is done, around the world. Because sometimes it's all well and good having it on a paper out there, but is it getting the full exposure? So this is one of the reasons why we do the podcasts now, to make sure it's getting the exposure that research deserves. So coming on to the first question that I had when I was reading the paper, and we'll just do a very introductory bit to it. What is the initial motivation for this research on student disaster resilience?
Yeah, I can tell you that as their professor. But by the way, before I proceed further, I just want to give the highest praise, glory, and honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I would say that He's the source of all things. So we wouldn't have this knowledge and this capacity to do research without His guidance and the wisdom that comes from Him. So basically, I'm the professor in PHE 305. I have a note here because, just in case I would forget stuff. So I'm the professor in PHE 305, and this is actually a subject about the current trends and issues in geology and astronomy. So as I would always do, I would always challenge my students to go beyond what they are supposed to learn in the formal classroom. So instead of just learning the principles in geology and astronomy, I would ask my students to do other things. And two things that I would ask them. Number one is that they can either prepare a research proposal. This research project proposal can either be funded by DIMSU or can be externally funded. And the other one is they can also, or they must prepare a publishable manuscript. Good thing they actually produce both. We were able to come up with one research project, and they were able to have this published manuscript. And and just to give you a brief background about that project that we were able to come up with, it's actually titled Project Sagip. And Sagip is actually a Filipino term that means to save. And the acronym of that is Surveillance and Analysis of the Geological Issues in the Philippines. So with this project conceptualized as their professor, I walked them through, I spearheaded study one. So this project has three sub-studies. So I spearheaded study 1, and Ma'am Kim spearheaded study 2, and another from the co-authors spearheaded study 3. So study 1 is actually about Mimakon. It's mining, manufacturing, and construction activities on local communities. And then Ma'am Kimberly chose earthquake and volcanic eruption preparedness. And then eventually this was translated to become this perspective paper. And then the third study actually is analyzing risk and adaptive strategies for coastal communities affected by coastal erosion. So while we were, while we are doing these quantitative, qualitative research studies, I also encourage them to do perspective approach. So while working with this descriptive quanti-quali study, while we are working on this one simultaneously, I asked them to do perspective literature review of related literature approach, so that at least we could have more publication on these specific issues. So since Ma'am Kimberly is actually the leader of study 2, if you can add up to that on what I mentioned, why did you choose um, that one? What's your motivation to focus on student disaster resilience?
Actually, sir, this research was motivated by the growing realization that awareness and preparedness or resilience, disaster resilience begins when awareness and preparedness meet. But in reality, that connection is weak as we visited a lot of literatures and analysis. We later on discovered that that connection, that convergence is weak, leading to poor, that not so good disaster resilience among our students. So while disasters are becoming more frequent and severe globally, not only in our nation, globally, students remain one of the most exposed, yet underprepared groups. So this study aims to address this gap by identifying why awareness does not translate into action and proposing a structured framework to strengthen that awareness and preparedness of our students. Maybe Ma'am Giselle can also add to that reason why we conducted or why we had this kind of study.
Yes. Thank you, Ma'am Kim. So, just like what they have mentioned, sir, I can say that our motivation really came from what we personally observed in school. Since we are science teachers, we are educators as well, we see that disaster awareness is already being introduced. So students can define hazards, they can explain what earthquakes or eruptions are. But when we reflect deeper, we ask ourselves, are they truly or are our student truly ready if something actually happens? So out from that, we came up with this study. Okay, so we all know that in the Philippines, we are where we live in. Okay, disasters are not just possibilities. Aside from it is located in the Pacific Ring of Fire, there is also a reality na awareness alone is not enough. So we felt that there was a gap between knowing and doing. So that realization, sir, pushed us to explore the issue more seriously. And why does this gap exist, something like that, and more importantly, how can we help our students, since we are teachers, and it's our mission to educate our students. How can we help them to move from just being informed to being truly prepared and capable of responding? So that.
Yeah, and here, yeah, and here in the UK, it's the same thing. Even though we're less exposed to hazards, for us, it's more biological hazards. Like usually for us, it's like foot and mouth disease. These types of illnesses. We're not prepared for them either. Or even flooding. We're not. Our students are not prepared because I go into schools and colleges and teach as well disasters, and you find they know the hazards, but they don't know how to respond to these hazards. So it actually comes on, you've kind of mostly touched on this. And one of the reasons I was looking at this and I was thinking, why focus on students over communities in general? And you've mentioned already that it's about, they're more vulnerable. Is it also, could it be the case that students feed back into communities as well? Because we know that students, it depends on what type of student you get, they will talk to their parents, and then that's like a dissemination of new knowledge potentially in the future.
That's true, sir. That's why we have chosen students, not just because they are vulnerable, but at the same time, they are multipliers of knowledge. They can share, they can disseminate what they have learned inside the classroom and share it to their homes and communities. That's the reason why, sir, we have chosen the students.
Yeah, it's given. We focus on students, not because they are vulnerable, but just like what you have mentioned, because they are also very powerful agents of change, right? Kasi when we equip a student, you are also indirectly educating a family and to a wider horizon and even a community. Okay, so this focus is very personal for us again as teachers because we can. This is part of our mission, not just to teach concepts, but to make learning meaningful and, most importantly, life applicable. So I believe it's very important that we focus or we start from students because we believe that out from or from the students they can become a powerful agent of change.
Yeah, to add a little bit more, Sir Ashley, if you are not familiar with it, the Philippines actually is considered the social media capital of the world. And sometimes, the drills that are being, if there are drills at school, they would take pictures. Some of it are funny because probably it's a wrong way to follow when they would not follow the drill exactly as how the director would command them to do, but it's a very powerful tool. The social media is actually a very powerful tool, especially when we talk about the young people here in the Philippines, the students here in the Philippines. They love to use social media, so I think that would multiply, as mentioned by Ma'am Kimberly earlier, even Ma'am Geezel. So there's a ripple or multiplier effect. So that when we strengthen student resilience, um, basically you're also strengthening families and communities, not only the physical community but also the digital communities. So there's a far-reaching effect um, because of social media.
And actually, I never thought about social media because in the UK, what I find is a lot of the students I work with are very much a consumer, but not a outward, in on social media. So that, I mean, for people who are listening, there's a very different, situation where in different countries, different cultures, different contexts, things can be different in what tools we use. Okay. So one of the key finds in the paper, is that students are aware but not prepared. Why do you think this disconnect exists?
I think the reason why there is a disconnect or a gap between preparedness and awareness. One reason is that disaster education, as I observe and as I have read in some of the literatures, um, they treat it as often theoretical rather than experiential. The students may understand the definition, the concept, and everything behind the risks and hazards, but they lack hands-on experiences or hands-on response skills. And drills are often conducted as routine compliance activities rather than meaningful learning experiences. Um, Additionally, we also observe that there are issues such as fragmented curriculum integration. There are also limited teacher trainings and weak institutional and community support systems, sir. That's the reason why there is a gap between the disaster preparedness and awareness, sir.
In addition, sir, we observe that students can actually or they can explain what to do, but they may not feel confident doing it in real situations. So, as what Mom Kimberly have mentioned, drills are regularly conducted in schools, which is very important. However, sometimes these activities become familiar routines. They just become familiar routines rather than opportunities for deeper learning. So, because of this, students may participate, but not always internalize the purpose, or they do not always develop the real decision making skills. They just there to participate in the drills that being conducted. So I believe the challenge is not the absence of efforts. So there are many, but how can we make these efforts more engaging, more reflective, and more connected to real life situations? So I believe that's what I can share on the disconnection that exists in this study, Sir Aban.
Yeah, and at the same time, I think the other problem is that they just take it for granted. Um, yeah, every time there are like alarms that they would buzz and you're going to have a drill. Basically the problem is that they would not. I mean, they would not realize that the Philippines actually uh r- the Philippines rank among the most disaster prone countries globally. So they don't put that in mind. I mean, they see it in the television that there are a lot of disaster every year, but eventually when the drill comes, they would just basically take it for granted. But aside from that, I think there are also teacher training gaps. So as they would say, if you don't have it, you cannot actually teach it. So I think that's also the problem. So this would basically weaken the transfer of knowledge and confidence because the teacher himself or herself is also not equipped for emergency response skills. And at the same time, I think I mean as an administrator at the university, I would be honest that we still lack proper equipment. And although there are evacuation plans and monitoring of preparedness, but um, these are just the basic equipment. But we don't have highly sophisticated equipments to make sure that it would become real time. The drill is not just a basic drill, but like a real event that is happening.
Okay. Okay, and you've mentioned drills quite a few times now. So, and I'm just thinking in this context, maybe you could go into a bit more detail about what actually are the drills and what type of drills are you doing? Is it like in Japan it's duck and cover? Actually very similar here in the UK now it's duck and cover as well. Or is there other types of drills that are having to teach the students?
Um, it's the same, sir. In our school, we have the duck cover and hold. And then after that, a few minutes, they will go out and go to a wide place where they can do the counting, and then they can do the first aid, but not for all. Only the limited students can participate to that because not all of them had that kind of training in terms of first aid um, response. Um, that's the usual, sir, drill that we are doing in our school. And I think as a whole in the Philippines. Sir. But I do not know. How about for tertiary level, Ma'am Giselle?
Just the same, ma'am. We have the duck cover. Once the alarm rang, we have the duck cover and hold also. And just like what you have mentioned, we need to look over our students. We need to count them. see whether everybody is present, and there are also the first aid or the life supports that we do. But just like what you have mentioned, selected students are assigned to do that. So I think we just have the same, Sir Ashley, here in the Philippines and there in UK. We have the very common the cover and hold drill.
So here's a question additional to that, which I just want to get a feeling, because it's different country, different context. How do the parents in particular feel about these duck and cover routines and drills? Because over here, they're not liked. There's a lot of resistance because for us, obviously, we don't get earthquakes, etc. The duck cover for us is if there's a threat, if there's some sort of malicious threat against the school, and that's why we have a duck cover approach now. And that's based upon years of, sadly, of stabbings and shootings here in the UK. What's the approach in the Philippines, for the parents? Do they like this approach of the duck cover drills, or are they a bit resistant to it?
So based on um, from my students and comments from my parent or from their parents, they like it, sir, because it's the way that their children can be trained how to do it properly. And they are also happy when they come home or they came home, they will tell something about that experience. But as Sir Jomar said, we cannot tell that all of them appreciated that kind of effort, but some of them just take it for granted. But the good side of it, the parents are very well appreciated about that kind of activity that we are doing in the schools and for the practice for the entire nation of for the schools of the Philippines, the schools.
Um, Based on my observation, sir, I can say that students actually have this mix how do you term that, mix emotions, or I mean, they appreciate it, and at the same time they appreciate it, especially when they understand its purpose. Okay, so they feel a sense of security knowing that they have something to do during an earthquake instead of just panicking. So when the drill is explained, uh, if it is explained well, and if it is practiced properly, it can build confidence, and at the same time it can reduce their fear. So I can say that out from that they can appreciate it, and at the same time some of our students, I believe, based on my observation, some students may feel disengaged, or um most probably they take it lightly, especially if the drill becomes too uh if it becomes too repetitive, or when it just becomes a routine. So in some cases, they just follow instructions without fully understanding why they are doing it. So others might also feel a bit anxious, or particularly if they have experienced a real earthquake before. So I believe they have this mix, mixed person. What's the term? Yeah, they have
Mixed reaction.
mixer actions. Thank you, Sir Aban. Mixer action toward the drills. Thank you, sir.
So based on this paper, the paper mentions, and you've talked about, the drills quite a lot now, and the paper mentions they're done for compliance. How can they be made to be more meaningful, so that the students can try and get more out of the experience, rather than it just being a simple tick box exercise? Because I know that from talking to teachers in, here in the UK, if for them it is just a tick box exercise, but they have to do it, every half a year.
I think, sir, one way to make it more or move from routine-based to experiential learning is by incorporating real life scenarios, decision making, and reflection. Students should practice not just how to evacuate, what to do before, during, and after, but also, yeah, to practice it, to do like first aid, risk assessment, problem solving during emergencies, and to also have post drill discussions and simulations that can help students internalize what they have learned rather than just follow some procedures, sir. So in that way, I think we can move from a routine-based um, drills to more experiential learning, sir.
Since we have the same idea with Mom Kim, I'd like to go. I mean, I'd like to add to her answer. So going back to what I have mentioned earlier, sir, wherein you have asked what was the motivation. So I believe I have mentioned that uh about reflection. So if we reflect deeper, 'di ba, we can if we reflect deeper, like what I have mentioned, that if we ask ourselves, are they truly ready if something actually happens? I think it is also connected to this question, kasi since um drills are already being conducted, and that is a very good foundation actually. So when we reflect, or I mean when reflection is included in the drill becomes more than just an activity. So it becomes a learning experience, and from that it allows students to internalize their rules and understand the importance of their actions. So I think we can make drills even more meaningful if we have or if we have the reflection after the drill.
Yes, hello, hello. Good afternoon, Sir Ashley, colleagues, fellow researchers, authors. So, in our university, let me just talk about our practice in our university. So, as the university director for the IDRiM, we conduct quarterly uh, drills. Actually, earthquake drill, the nationwide simultaneous earthquake drill. And aside from that, we also do fire drills. Uh, Another is a tsunami drill, and we are also planning to conduct other kinds of drill like anti-terrorism drill, like bomb threat drill, like that. So it is the goal of the university is to not only to equip our first aiders, our first responders, but also the students, faculty members, and of course our clienteles. It's very important that all of the participants should realize that it's not only a drill, it's not only a practice, but if time comes, worst comes to worst, we cannot deny the fact that we should always be ready, but through practice, through preparedness drills, we can come up with a better solutions as to how much time will we evacuate from that building to our assembly areas, and our responders may come to coordinate and do what is best for our constituents, our clients, our students, even our stakeholders. So that's how important drill is being realized in our university. So we also coordinate with the local government unit for us to come up with a better or holistic approach in terms of uh, preparedness and response. We coordinate with the local government unit, especially the Philippine National Police, the Bureau of Fire Protection, or in there could be secondary uh, emergencies such as fire, or sometimes some collapsed buildings that later on, if this will happen, we are we of course we assume that we are ready. But of course we cannot deny the fact that sometimes these some unprecedented events later on rise. So these are the things that we are working on. In our university, we are proposing, of course, good planning with the engineering team, planning team, for us to come up with better evacuation areas, more trainings, capability buildings for our responders and the faculty members, of course.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. You really have, and it's it's good to see that it's taken seriously even at a university level as well. Because my institution, we don't have any of these drills at all. Okay, we're less vulnerable, but it's still quite concerning. Thinking about it now that we don't even do these drills at all. Now coming back to the paper, and my question is that what surprised you the most during your analysis of the literature and case studies? Because obviously the literature only will tell a picture, but it might not tell the full picture. So were there any surprises, something that you'd expect to have been in the literature, or something that wasn't in the literature, and you've experienced?
Yes, sir. Um, One surprising insight that we have discovered during our analysis of literature and case studies is that mm, the level of awareness of the students is high, but their preparedness remains low. We think that shows that knowledge alone is not enough to determine or to define how resilient they are when it comes to disaster. And another key realization is that the fragmented disaster education that we have here in the basic education. Actually, sir, to tell you honestly, um, the disaster risk reduction management or DRRR subject is only given to general academic strands students and science, technology, engineering, mathematics students, but not for all senior high school students. It's one of the surprising thing or yes that we had discovered. At the same time, the teacher expertise. Not all teachers who are handling DRR subject is expert or expert in that particular field, sir. And at the same time, there are, I think that significantly affects its effectiveness, the awareness and preparedness of our students.
Um, yes, sir. We have um the same observation with the Mom Kim. I have the same observation with Mom Kim wherein I am also surprised with the result wherein students have or they show high awareness and knowledge, but they fall on the preparedness. So, but usually when the students are aware and knowledgeable enough, preparedness should follow also. But here in our in the result of our study, it seems that it has an inverse proportional relationship. So I believe this tells us that knowledge alone does not automatically lead to action. And uh, maybe the students know what are the things to do during earthquakes, and when they are in the position, or when the earth, or let's say if there are earthquakes, they don't know what to do, and the panic starts. They have the fear, so it highlighted us, for us, that disaster education should go beyond teaching concepts. So it should involve experience, repetition, and at the same time, I believe this is the most important, meaningful engagement, so that the students can build confidence, not just knowledge alone. Sir Aban.
And to support that, there are actually facts here 60% of the Philippines land area is exposed to multiple hazards. 74% of the population is susceptible to their impact. According to World Risk Report, the Philippines is ranked third globally in disaster risk with an index of 25.14. Earthquakes alone scored 9.7 out of 10 on national risk index. So we know that the Philippines is considered a critical. I mean, the Philippines is exposed really to these geographic and environmental hazards. But the problem is that when drill comes, it's either there's a mindset on these students to say that actual severe thing might not happen yet. So that's something surprising, knowing that these are realities really, as mentioned by my co-authors. These are realities, but we tend to have that mindset, or maybe part of the culture. I'm not sure that instead of addressing the issue, I mean preparing for the issue, we're just waiting for it to come, and well, we're hoping it wouldn't come, but it's really, I mean, part of the paper is really to uh, you know to make sure that this result can be used so that all the stakeholders, especially the students, would realize really, as we have been mentioning over and over again, that it's not just head knowledge really. So if you have that head knowledge, it must be you have to make sure that you have that proper mindset and behavior, that like it's the actual thing that is happening. Even if it's a drill, you imagine that it's the actual thing. But of course, we sometimes we cannot blame the students because, as I mentioned earlier, we don't have highly sophisticated tools like simulations, AI simulations, 3D simulations that so that it will make the scenario more realistic. So sometimes the drill becomes too basic and routinary, and maybe that also affects the mindset or behavior. But yeah, it's really surprising. We are not so serious. I mean, according to literature, the stakeholders are not so serious when it comes to drills. So something on the mindset or in this culture or behavior must be shifted.
And you mentioned stakeholders, and you say, so my question is, why is multi-stakeholder collaboration so difficult to implement in the practice?
I can start because
Yes.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
multi-stakeholder collaboration is kind of difficult because as mentioned by Sir Randulph, our director in DRRM in our university, with that audience alone, I mean the employees, the staff, and even the students, it's already difficult. Some of them would not want to participate. You have to force them to participate sometimes. And if we include other players or actors, like for example, if this is done in a wet market in the Philippines, for example, I doubt if the people would be engaged in that drill. So yeah, I think it's difficult because number one, because of fragmented responsibilities, and I think institutional silos is another factor. Although they are related, sometimes they work alone. Like for example, one agency would say, actually, that's your job, and the other would say, this is actually our job. And in reality, there must be like a framework that would include all of these stakeholders. So I think that's one reason why collaboration is hard. Fragmented responsibilities, and agencies work in silos sometimes. Although I agree also with Sir Randall, probably he could also tell us more about this one. They are in collaboration every time they perform drills. They are in collaboration with LGUs. So yeah, probably in theory, but in a little bit in practice. But I think I'm really in doubt if you do that drill in a wet market or in a public place. I'm not sure if everyone. I'm pretty sure that not everyone would participate.
Sir, I believe the multi-stakeholder collaboration is not so difficult to implement since the multi-stakeholder collaboration is already happening actually, especially through partnerships between schools, the local government units, the different agencies, just like what Sir Randulph have mentioned, the PNP, the BFP, and other disaster agencies. However, I believe one of the challenge that I can say is sustaining and deepening these engagements. Kasi the collaboration is already there. So sometimes activities are conducted but may not always be continuous. So there are also differences in resources and at the same time priorities across institution, just like what Sir Aban have mentioned. So I believe the goal here is not just to establish partnerships, but to strengthen them. I believe we need to strengthen them kasi since it is already there is already collaboration between stakeholders, but we need to strengthen it even more, making them more consistent, and out from that we can I believe we can make a long-term preparedness among our students. So that's my my idea or my perception, sir.
Let me add
Just
also, Sir Jomar,
okay.
in terms of the multi-stakeholder collaboration. Well, actually, in the Philippines, as we are mandated by RA 10121, this strengthens disaster risk reduction management, of course, integrating climate change actions with the local government units, government agencies participating on this one. We are all in this law. It also tells about inclusivity, including all possible participants, because there's no excuse in terms of disaster. When disaster strikes, everybody's get affected. So with this, I can see based on my experience and the findings of this study, we can say that there may be a weak coordination on the part of agencies as to how the program works, like conduct of drills, evacuation drills, the conduct of capability building in terms of DRM, safety, etc. And of course, as mentioned by Ma'am Geezel a while back, the limited funds, because considering of different agencies has their own fundings in terms of funds. The other agencies may have this much uh, available funds to conduct these programs, providing different facilities, simulation tools, just like in the country, we have the Department of Science and Technology, who's working on technologies that will promote resiliency and in terms of technology that will be needed, such in terms of disaster preparedness and mitigation. So with this, let me just put it into a way that little by little, the Philippines is going to making it stronger disaster preparedness measures through the DR, through this law, the Republic Act 10121. So with this strong governance, there could be a clearer institutional arrangements, improvement on preparedness, as well as its outcomes, as well as rehabilitation in terms of disasters. That way years back, we have experienced a lot of disasters like typhoons, earthquakes, especially now that we are again watching on the Mount Mayon, another volcano that's possible for eruption. So with that strong community participation, of course, considering social norms is also part of this one.
Yes, sir. In To sum it up, sir, there is a multi-stakeholder collaboration, but it's not that strong due to different challenges, as mentioned by my members, sir, my teammates. Thank you so much, sir.
Hey, And I'll just add something here about RA 1121 for international audiences, the Republican Act number 10121, which would be the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction Act of 2010, top of my head. So just give a bit of context there for the international audience. So we've talked about now. I'm getting a theme coming out now about technology. Seems to be coming out. We've talked about technology just now. Earlier in the podcast, we've heard about social media, and you've also mentioned it in the paper as well about technology-driven solutions. So, what is the most promising tools that are out there, and what you've seen so far on using technology into driving student engagement, or even just better educating the students?
Kimberly.
Yes, sir. Based on the study, the literature, promising tools include AI-based early warning systems, mobile disaster preparedness applications, and virtual simulation deals. So these technologies can enhance real-time response, risk assessment, and student engagement when properly integrated into education. And maybe Sir Randolph and can also add to that some of the promising tools that can help our students to become more resilient.
Randolph, I just want to share. Um, yeah, I think 2 months ago I was invited as a of a panel member in a research final defense of this senior high school students in one of the schools here in San Juan, Northern Philippines, and I'm just fascinated that their investigatory project is now all inclined on early warning systems, as mentioned by Kimberly, and other mobile applications for preparedness. But it's just so painful to watch that they have the idea, they were able to develop like a prototype of this very interesting mobile applications and early warning systems. But how they can move forward, how this can be supported by the government is actually probably something political or other stuff out there. It doesn't push through to its commercialization and to its real life application. But I know that there are very smart senior high school students, and based on what we have evaluated, these are really promising tools, as mentioned earlier, because they can send real-time data from, one location. For example, if there's a problem, there will be a buzz or an alarm, and it will automatically send a warning um, to the end user. So these are really um, technology-driven solutions. But I think uh, the DRRM, if I'm not mistaken, is sending every mobile device here in the Philippines with a warning sign. If, for example, there is strong typhoon, the signal, what is about to happen, what we expect. So I think these are already. I mean, the Philippines is going there, and we have a lot of brilliant minds here, not only theoretically, but if only corruption is significantly reduced, should I say, and if only the the government and those that are involved in politics would only understand more of research and innovation. I I would say that even if our country is actually exposed in a lot of disasters, we can also invent advanced technologies that can help us to make sure that the um mortalities, should I say, or deaths would be significantly reduced during these disasters. So I'm not sure if Sir Randy would or Ma'am Giselle would add up to that.
Yes, Sir Jomar, Sir Ashley, police. Yours truly is also part of the focal person for the DRRM, of the project of Department of Science and Technology in our region, the community empowerment through science and technology, and we are promoting the following several programs, also initiatives, technologies to the community. One is the use of the hazard hunter, or in this hazard hunter is an application that identifies different hazard as to its location, especially in the mountainous, geographically isolated, disadvantaged areas. We have also the GeoMapper Philippines by the DOST, Department of Science and Technology. It covers the hazard exposure mapping. And one thing is, another is the REDAS, what's REDAS again? Rapid earthquake damage assessment system. This yours truly is also trained on using this application. It is a disaster simulation and decision support software developed by the DOST FIBOX. It helps local government units, also universities, schools, and agencies to assess earthquake and multi-hazard impacts in near or real time, guiding emergencies and response preparedness planning. So with these applications, instruments, technologies, it would help us assess damages, and we could come up with a better solutions after a disaster. On the preparedness part, of course, in the rehabilitation, the government also through a law, the LUDIP law, the Land Use Development Infrastructure Plan, we are tasked to identify safe spaces, green spaces, and where buildings should be built or erected so that it will not become potentially damage in terms of earthquake. So we have those kind of technologies, sir. Of course, the Department of Science and Technology and other agencies like the Bureau of Fire Protection is also coming up with some solutions that is in consonance with these technologies. Of course, in our university, we also do have initiatives like developing applications like safe patch applications, where yours truly is one of the author, and hopefully by this year we could be piloting this in our university. It is an application that will allow clients to report emergencies any part of our university and in the community.
Excellent to to hear about all these different technologies and what is happening. My next question is, what are the risks relying on heavily on technology? We know that technology is not perfect. I know that here in the UK, early warning systems, in particular mobile early warning systems, are not liked at all by the public. There was a lot of resistance to these technologies even being brought in place historically, and until 2022 we didn't have anything like that. So what risks do you foresee in relying on the technology too much?
To address those, let me answer, Sir Jomar, colleagues. In terms of risk, yes, also challenges. These are the things that when we offer technology, sometimes a community or a group of people may lack on community adoption. This technology is also equivalent to cost. And that what we have mentioned a while back, the problem on the fundings. So these are the things. One thing is the maintenance cost. In terms of maintenance, not only the facilities or the technology, also the personnel that are handling this one. In terms of monitoring, where this requires manpower to upkeep, and of course, in terms of instruments, they need to be calibrated, or some this maintenance or preventive maintenance. In terms of data, the data accessibility, of course, we cannot deny the fact that we still sometimes could encounter uh, problems in keeping those data, large data. So some LGUs, some schools may lack the capacity in terms of the stability of internet and technical capacity to maximize these tools. And of course, the inclusivity problem. There are gaps, of course, considering that not all may be interested. Some men may be interested, some women may be interested, but not all. So that's the reason why. There should always be mainstreaming, and we have mentioned here that the community engagement is very much advisable. And hopefully, we'll come up with a better uh, initiatives soonest.
Okay na.
Tama
Yeah,
po ito,
yeah.
Rampel.
I think, yeah, I just to add to that, I mean, realistically speaking, Philippines is a developing nation. Sometimes they call it a third world nation. And in as much that I would love like all Filipino people to understand that, I mean, it's very beneficial really to rely on technology. But as of right now, according to statistics, there are still lots of Filipino that cannot even provide the basic need in their own families. So it would be unrealistic. As Sir Randy has mentioned earlier, there will be inequality in access, especially in public schools, underprivileged areas, for example. And if they would try to standardize that you ought to use technologies, I'm pretty sure that a lot of poorer schools and students will be left behind. So yeah, that would be the big problem right now. Uh, but yeah, we hope that one day we would be like you there in UK. That would be a far um in Tagalog we call it suntok sa buwan. It's almost an impossibility. It's impossible, but yeah, I mean, we really hope that more Filipinos would be engaged in research. The government would support innovation, and we'll get there. I mean, me personally, I like technology. Our research actually um, relied in technology, for example. That's why, right now, research, development, innovations are much faster if we include technology. So I think there's supposed to be nothing wrong there, but we have to be realistic. So that's the case in the Philippines right now. Anything more, Ma'am Kimberly, Ma'am Giselle?
Yes, sir. To sum it up, sir, as mentioned by Sir Aban and Sir Navasca, we see that there are risks in relying too heavily on technology. One issue is the accessibility, because not all schools have that privilege, because there are also underprivileged areas that have limited access to technology and data connection. And there are also issue of over dependence, especially um, during disasters when powers and connectivity may fail. That's why technology should complement, not replace, the fundamental preparedness, awareness, and preparedness skills of our students or the whole community.
Yes, Ma'am Kim. It should complement with hands-on training and practical skills. Kasi here in the Philippines, sir, it's a very important risk to consider is the digital divide. As mentioned by my co-authors, not schools and communities have equal access to devices. So this highlights the need for a balanced approach. So while technology can greatly enhance um, disaster preparedness, it should be complemented with hands-on training and practical skills in order to ensure that all students, regardless of their access, they are equally prepared to respond in real situations like this.
Okay, so just going back as well to the paper, you you talked about integrated student disaster resilience framework. Can you walk us through that in quite simple terms for those who don't know what it is?
So this ISDRF, or we call it as Integrated Student Disaster Resilience Framework. Offers a structured step-by-step approach to building student resilience by emphasizing three interrelated domains, such as disaster education, institutional preparedness, and community collaboration. So these domains are unified by the belief that disaster resilience transcends individual awareness. It is a shared responsibility involving schools, households, and local governments. So we have a three-layer approach to building student resiliency. So it is like a pyramid. So at the base of that, or the base layer, is the disaster education and community integration, and emphasizing on integrating comprehensive disaster education with the school curriculum and activity or active community involvement. So it includes awareness programs, hands-on activities, and learning materials suited to the different age groups and based on their local context. Students develop, by this, students can develop a comprehensive understanding of the hazards, and at the same time, they can have that preparedness also. And at the middle is the institutional preparedness and school governance. As mentioned here, this layer focuses on the critical function of the institutional mechanisms and governance to provide a safe and nurturing environment for our further learning. And at the top of it is the community and stakeholder engagement. So at this level, the framework suggests collaborative partnerships among families, schools, local government units, and other key stakeholders. And at the top of that, the top most part of the pyramid is the learner, symbolizing the peak of efforts in education, governance, and community collective action towards the development of disaster resilience. So at the very top of that layer is a learner representing a student who is not just aware, but capable of responding and contributing to community resilience uh, because of the connections or interconnections of these three domains. We have the education, government, and community and stakeholder engagement. But my other members can also add to that.
Um, I think Ma'am Kim have explained it very well, and I don't have much to add. And I completely agree with the points being shared by Ma'am Kim, but I just like to have it generally. So when this Ma'am Kim also mentioned or discussed the model. Okay, so when these three elements work together, I believe students are not just learning, so they are supported through this framework. I believe that they will be supported, guided, and empowered to act. So that's it, Sir Aban.
Yeah, I agree with that framework. We like the first step basically is to make sure that we are not starting from scratch. So we would review and analyze existing models. But we know that every time there are models that would arise, there will be gaps. So that will be the second step, is to identify the gaps and in it and their contextual needs. And basically from those comes the third step, that is framework design and validation. And based on literature, we really have to integrate education, partnership, and technology. So those are three important things that must be um included in the integrated student disaster resilience framework, education partnership, and technology. Um, and if the other stuff there was already mentioned by Ma'am Kimberly, the pyramid model, where uh, it's a pyramid because we understand how important it is to have a base of the pyramid, which is the review and analysis. So you have to make sure that it's well established that the models that were existing are already there. We get the strengths of this of these existing models, and eventually we get into what is weak on these models. And then related to the Philippine context, a top tier is design and validation. Eventually, that would integrate the three insights. But it's actually not a three-tiered model. If you mentioned that the last part there is students, we have to really emphasize that in this research, we highlight, we emphasize the importance of having the main players or actors, the students, as mentioned in the very first question earlier, that they are very influential. They're very influential in making sure that there is disaster resilience, especially in the country like the Philippines. So yeah, we made it a pyramid because it's easier to understand and follow through. We did not make it like a sophisticated model to make sure that everyone understands, the easy steps in making sure that it's doable and it's sustainable.
Yeah. Okay, so we're coming towards the end now, and so these are more general questions about the research, etc., and actually more contextual. So one of the questions that my co-host, who sadly can't be here with us today, had was, what can the Philippines learn from countries like Japan and Indonesia, but also the other way around? Because I can see lessons that my country in the UK could learn from your country. So what lessons could be learned both ways?
From Japan, sir, the Philippines can learn the value of the consistent, mandatory, and well-practiced drills that ensure readiness. Then we can adapt to that, especially their mindset, sir. And from Indonesia, it can adopt community-based approaches, as mentioned in the study, that actively involves students and local residents in disaster preparedness. So both highlight the importance of experiential learning and strong community engagement. Other answer from Geezel, sir.
Yeah, the same thing. I think we are inspired to learn lessons from Japan. We know that Japan is highly advanced in their drills, but it's not just their technological advancements, but they really do it seriously. The mandatory drills, for example, it's compulsory in schools. It's also integrated in their curriculum, and they have this preparedness culture. I think that is the biggest takeaway in Japan that Philippines must learn is the preparedness mindset. It's not just that we know, but we must really be prepared, understanding that we don't want to be caught off guard. And as mentioned by Mom Kimberly, in Indonesia, it's community-based preparedness, local knowledge integration, indigenous practices. I think it's a very important tool from those people in Indonesia, and also experiential learning.
I think, and from my perspective, I think from the UK, you said about being that prepared mindset. We don't have it at all. We're very responsive rather than proactive. In our approach. So, I mean, for example, the duck and cover only came in 2019. You think of, for us, we don't, we didn't do any of that. We did have no preparedness for anything until 2019. And, even today, I look back, when it came to COVID-19, as a community and everything else, we knew what to do, we just threw it away. We didn't learn from it, and that's the issue, that we know what to do, but we just don't learn. And I think that is something that, as in my country, we need to, start learning as well. So, one last question: what are the next steps to this research? So you've done this research, great paper that's come out. What's next? Is it going to
Yeah.
carry on, or is this the end of it?
Yeah, basically, we're going to finish the project first. The project's a gift because, as mentioned earlier in my class, um, I asked my students to look into different kinds of, issues in the Philippines related to geology and astronomy. But specifically for this paper, actually, we can also submit a policy paper from this paper, or probably communicate with the LGUs and with other agencies that is like the ORM that is involved in the theme of the paper, and contribute to whatever is lacking in the existing policy, for example, government policy, and through the significant findings that we had in this paper, we hope to improve whatever's in the policy, and eventually, the ideally, we ought to contribute in making sure that the Philippines, despite our country being in disaster risk zone, as mentioned earlier, at least we are able to contribute in making sure that the lives of the Filipino peoples are spared every time there are disasters. So yeah, that's actually something that is far-fetched, but we have to finish the project first.
Okay, great. And thank you all for coming along today to talk about your paper. And thank you to our listeners for listening to today's episode. And we hope to see you very soon for another episode.